buddy?
Good, Jeremy. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
You too. You too. Thing I wanted to talk about is the new film that's out that you're in, Sweetwater.
Yeah.
Lapchick.
Matt Clifton. Some call me Sweetwater.
I coach a team called the New York Knickerbockers.
Ain't no Negroes playing your league.
It's not gonna be like that forever.
Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with the film, and I know you're playing Joe Lipchick, the Hall of Fame basketball coach.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that film, and just how you came to get involved with playing that role.
Did you get a chance I know you haven't seen it. Did you get a chance to see the trailer?
I have.
Right on. Great. Well, as you can tell, it's about, the first African American to sign with the NBA. And I grew up right next to you guys, not too far from East St. Louis, in Chicago. And we have a very similar dynamic there. And I was lucky enough to be a part of a very integrated culture. And I was the only white boy on my football team. So I was so lucky to be a part of a culture. I think part of what racism is, because there's nothing natural about racism. I think that it's something that it has to be taught because it's not natural. And so really understanding that intrinsically, seeing and being very passionate about this subject of integration. Like when I saw that this character, Joe Lapchick, was a guy that, and this is not a white savior movie, this is just the truth of what happened. He helped break the color barrier with Nat Sweetwater Clifton. And so the fact that I got to play this character was a real gift. And I was incredibly honored and grateful to play him. And it's funny, people were like, well, how much were you like Ari Gold? Well, I wish they would say how much you like Joe Lapchick, because I would say a lot. Mm-hmm. And I really aligned with him and his passion. And his son and his grandson, after seeing the film, gave me some compliments that I'll remember for the rest of my life. The idea that that they thought that I got it right meant the world to me.
Mm-hmm. How important is this movie, in your view, for people to see with what we're dealing with in today's society?
Well, I think it's really important, because I can sit here with you and tell you that we truly all are equal, and we need to get this. And it will maybe be impactful, but the reality is what I do best is I act, and that's what I do, and I'm honored to do it. So a film like this, I tell stories. A film like this, where you can fall in love with the story and the characters, and then the message comes in, that's the best way that I can contribute to this conversation, to be honest with you. And so that's why, like a film like this, I'll do anything to get the word out, including, hiding in an alley and talking to you.
Right on. Right on. It's been 4 years since I last spoke to you, and you're going to be coming back to St. Louis on the 21st and 22nd at Helium. How have you changed your comedy act in the last 4 years since I've seen you? I know you've been back since, but since I've last seen you, since we last spoke, what are some things that you've done to change it? And I mean, as an actor, I'm sure you're always critiquing yourself. What are some things that you've done that you think you needed to do to improve?
Well, that's, first of all, a great question. And I don't have the perspective that you will have. I really hope you come see my show. I think that the stand-up has grown a lot. The act has transformed. It's more a combination of observational humor and stories and impressions. I'm kind of all over the map. So it's not like I do any one thing. I kind of dabble in all of it, but I'm excited for you to see it. I really, it's my job to make people laugh for an hour, and I'm honored to do it, and I love doing it. And all I can do is get better at it.
What is the big difference, you think, between going up on a stage and doing stand-up and then acting in a film, portraying a role? For you, what was the biggest difference, and was there a learning curve for you at all?
Huge learning curve with stand-up. For stand-up, to be honest, it's just really about putting all your fears aside and just getting up there, and having you be okay with it not going well at first. And you got to take your ego out of the equation, and you have to bomb and be okay with that. And then you work your way through and you dig your way out, and then you find different ways to get better, and then I've just been witnessing it in real time, how different elements of it kind of come into fruition. And all I can do is get up 5 to 8 times a week and try to get better. That, I'm excited because I haven't, been back to St. Louis, and I have a bunch of friends there, and I'm a Midwest guy, so I can't wait to connect with that audience again. And it's, I was just starting my journey then.
Mhm.
So now I feel like a stand-up, and it's going to be fun.
The one thing I enjoy about following you on social media is you're a huge sports fan.
Yes.
Coming from Chicago, I guess right now you're kind of enjoying seeing the Cubs doing better than the Cardinals for a change. Do you
Yeah.
give any of your friends trouble about that when you're around St. Louis?
Listen, we've had so many lean years as Cubs fans, and I'm a North Sider. And, I would always watch the Cardinals, and it was always a great rivalry. But I never felt like the Cardinals were, it's like, listen, Aaron Rodgers rubbed it in our face. That was brutal,
Yeah.
but the Cardinals never did that to us. Albert Pujols, and I should post a picture. I connected with him recently at the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game, because we were there promoting Sweetwater. He was there, and I just went up to him and said, I'm a huge fan, even though he kicked our butt. They were never cruel about it. They never rubbed our noses in it. So, and I have so many friends from St. Louis, and there's so many similarities with our cities that
Right.
I feel connected. I feel like it's a friendly rivalry. So to be honest with you, I don't do that. I don't take a victory lap for that type of stuff, because we had 100 lean years,
Yeah.
108 lean years.
I know you're a big UFC fan as well.
Yeah.
I watched your interview with Michael Chandler for your podcast. Just wanted to talk a little bit about
Yeah.
your experience. What attracts you to the UFC? What makes you a fan of the Ultimate Fighting?
Well, I was lucky enough. I am lucky enough to have some friends that, including Michael and Rashad Evans and Jorge Masvidal and whatnot. And so, I get a sense of who they are as people, and the sacrifices they've made to be as good as they are in a sport that combines Muay Thai and kickboxing and judo and jujitsu, and you're locked in a cage with someone. I mean, it's talk about confronting your fears. They have to be well versed in many skill sets, and having trained a bit with guys like Rashad Evans, I have a reference for how difficult it is and how tough they are. So I have a lot of respect for them. What they do is so incredibly difficult.
As a sports fan, I know I saw you at the All-Star game with, posing with LeBron and guys like that. Do you ever just take a step back and think like, my God, I'm getting to hang out with some of these, legends, guys who are going to go down in history as some of the greatest to ever do it? What do you think about when you see yourself in pictures with guys like that and that you're friends with? I mean, that's got to be a pretty cool feeling.
It really is, but you have to understand, like, I met LeBron at the beginning of his career when he did Entourage, and he was a kid. I reminded him of that when I saw him in the middle of the game. He came over really to say hello to Vanessa Bryant, who I was lucky enough to sit next to, and she is an angel, and so are her children. And I was lucky enough to know Kobe, and Kobe, like, during a Lakers game, asked me, like, in the middle of a game, he came over and said, "Man, when I watch you do that show Entourage, when you're playing anger, it's so real. How do you do that?" And I said, "When you pop in a 3-pointer in front of a billion people with 3 seconds left to go, how do you do that?" So that was my way of saying, first of all, thank you for even recognizing that I love what I do, but also just saying to him, like, there's no secret to any of this. It's hard work and reps and the love of the process and all that stuff. I would never equate myself with Kobe in my life, but it was just my quick way of, in that moment, saying, you're asking me this question, but you know the answer, Kobe. It's the same way, and God rest his beautiful soul. We miss him. But he was someone that was, I think, part of his magic was that he was so curious about other people and their process and how to get better. I think the biggest tragedy with him is that like he sacrificed so much of his life to get better and to overcome injuries, and he was always working so hard. And then he was entering this new chapter in his life, and you got to see him really valuing his family, and it was just so beautiful. And then he was taken away, and that one to this day just hits really hard.
Mhm.
It's you know, to even know these guys, the reason I know them is because I think with Entourage, for instance, we struck a chord with them.
Yes.
You know, it was about the backstage life of a Hollywood star, but it could have been about the backstage life of an athlete. And I think they connected with us, and we connected with the culture, and we were lucky enough to have a brilliant music supervisor that had this amazing, you know, range, and we connected with music of the times and hip hop. And so I feel incredibly lucky, but I think because I'm such a genuine fan, I manifested like, you know, like meeting LeBron or any of these guys, or even Jordan, you know?
Right. As an actor, and this is something that I kind of have always wondered. I read something recently about one of my favorite films is True Romance. And I just read something about when Jim Gandolfini had to do the scene with Patricia Arquette where they're in the hotel, and it's just a very violent scene, how he held himself up in the room for like 8 days and didn't shower just to get himself in that mindset. So my question to you is, as someone who plays such versatile characters, I mean, as a, you know, from a role in PCU to Ari to being in you know, a film like Judgment Night, how do you get yourself into the character that you're going to play?
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, and we love Gandolfini, and I think that you know, he was so brilliant, uh and a journeyman actor like I am.
Mhm.
A lot of similarities there, and then we, you know, we both found a role where we could sink our teeth into it, and but you know, there's this famous story of Dustin Hoffman doing method work, which is what you're talking about.
Mhm.
You're talking about method acting, where you put yourself through the actual conditions. Um, and there's a story of Dustin Hoffman doing that in Marathon Man, and Sir Laurence Olivier, after seeing that Dustin, you know, hadn't showered or gone to the bathroom, he said to him, "Have you ever tried acting, my dear boy?" And you know, that's a famous story about certain actors who throw themselves into a role based on the givens of the character and are able to turn it on and then off. And then those that have to live it and work within the method form. And I think that that anything and everything works, and you do whatever it takes. My mother said to me one time, you know, she said, "You're a healthy artist," which I think is very important. I think we need to have balance and be healthy in this life and not destroy ourselves. We don't have to go there. You know, you don't have to be, you know, uh, to do terrible things to yourself to play a terrible character.
Mhm.
And also, when you play these terrible characters, you have to remember that no one is the devil in their own story, if that
Awesome.
makes any sense.
Has there ever been a character that you played that kind of maybe troubled you, or you really thought, man, I don't know if I want to play this character? Has there ever been a character like that in a film or a series?
Well, first of all, you're asking me some great questions, so thank you, buddy.
Oh, you're welcome.
You did a lot of homework, and I appreciate it. Um, and yes, the answer to that question is yes, many characters. And again, that goes back to what I was saying, which is while you're playing them, you can't judge them. You
Yeah.
know, Ari Gold. I'm look at here's the reality. I'm a stage actor from Chicago. I am a journeyman actor. That's what I am. And someone like Ari Gold, um, he is loyal and he is a monogamous husband. There's so many beautiful things that I hung my hat on that I loved about him. He was loyal to Vinny, you know, and but at the same time, his main focus was money. It was all about the money. And the way I am, like if I see a great role and it's a play or it's an independent film, my first thought is not money. It's what's the character, what's the, who do I get to play with, what will be revealed, what's the story we're telling, so he and I have different ideologies, but I can't judge him. I just have to invest as much integrity as I can into him while I'm playing him. I played two racist characters recently that were incredibly troubling, in the system and in the walk. And I used the N word in the walk, and it was very disturbing. And it's I remember asking Terrence Howard. I said, brother, what do I do about this? And he said, you lean into it with all you got, because these people exist. And he's right. He's right. And so yeah, it's, again, I was lucky enough to grow up in an integrated culture, and I really was incredibly lucky and blessed because of that. And so to play, these disturbing characters, it's an honor to be performing, and as my father would say, to honor the space that you occupy when you perform. So that's an honor. And there are evil people in this world, and we need to portray them and to tell these stories and to learn these lessons.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, I appreciate your time, and I will definitely be at the show next weekend in St. Louis at Helium.
I can't. Let's talk afterwards, because I can't wait for you to see. It's really exciting to grow. You're never too old to grow, man. It's just so fun to be able to be in this lane and to get better at it. So
I agree.
It's an honor, and thanks. It's good talking to you.
Thank you. I will see you next week.
Take care, buddy.